The NFL cutdown deadline has passed, and chaos has hit Philly. Some young stars are out. A few shocking names are in. And just when Eagles fans thought the dust was settling, the NFC East has been shaken again because a $96 million bombshell just dropped in Washington. The Eagles' rivals made a move that could change everything. Buckle up, because this is one of the wildest weeks of the offseason. The Philadelphia Eagles' final 53-man roster is locked in, and let's be real, no one saw this exact lineup coming. A promising rookie didn't make it, a young receiver is gone. A pass rusher who flashed talent was cut loose. But then, out of nowhere, a few unexpected names survived and earned their shot. That's the kind of drama roster cut day always brings, and this year was no different. The Birds now move forward with a mix of surprises and question marks still hovering over the team. But while the Eagles were making headlines, the rest of the NFC East had its own fireworks. The Washington Commanders and star receiver Terry McLaurin finally ended one of the ugliest sagas of the summer. After skipping OTAs, minicamp, and training camp, and even demanding a trade, McLaurin got exactly what he wanted: a monster 3-year, $96 million contract extension. Now he's locked in with Washington for the long haul, and that's a problem for the Eagles. Let's be honest, the Commanders were never going to trade him. This was always a leverage play. Still, McLaurin missed months of practice, and you've got to wonder, will that lost time show when the season kicks off? Will the chemistry be there right away, or will it take weeks to rebuild? For Philadelphia fans, the hope is obvious, that his slow start helps the Birds gain an edge early. Back in Philly, there was at least some good news worth celebrating. Lane Johnson and Jalen Hurts both cracked the NFL's top 100 list. Lane came in at number 23, and while that's impressive, I'm going to say what every Eagles fan is thinking: it's still too low. He's the best right tackle in football, a wall that has carried this offensive line for years. Coming off a Super Bowl run, he deserved more respect. And then there's Jalen Hurts, ranked at number 19. Again, great to see him in the top 20, but let's not kid ourselves. This man just delivered a Lombardi trophy to Philadelphia. He was Super Bowl MVP. And somehow, he dropped 4 spots compared to last year? That's insane. Winning it all should never knock a quarterback down the rankings. Hurts should have been higher, no doubt. Still, it's a reminder of the disrespect this team continues to fight against, and that chip on their shoulder might fuel another run. Eagles fans, I want to know where you stand. Do you think Jalen Hurts and Lane Johnson got disrespected on the top 100? And how worried are you about Terry McLaurin staying in Washington? Drop your thoughts in the comments. 1 to 10, how confident are you in the Eagles heading into Week 1? The wait is almost over, Eagles fans. Jalen Hurts, Lane Johnson, and the rest of this squad are just days away from stepping back onto the field for real, meaningful football. The pads will be popping, the crowd will be roaring, and we'll finally get to see the defending champs begin their title defense. But before that dream can start, Philly had to go through one of the most painful parts of the NFL calendar: roster cuts. The process began on Sunday and rolled into Monday with the first big wave of names being let go. The list was long: Dorian Thompson-Robinson, Lewis Cine, Kenyon Green, E.J. Jenkins, Nick Muse, Kylan Robinson, Montrell Johnson Jr., Kyle McCord, Eli Ricks, and more. Some were expected. Others? Not so much. The biggest shock right away was Kenyon Green. Remember, this is the guy connected to the C.J. Gardner-Johnson trade, and now he's already gone. Injuries slowed him down, and in a stacked offensive line room, he just couldn't separate himself. It's a brutal reality of the league. If you don't stand out, you're out. Maybe he finds his way onto the practice squad, but the Eagles had no choice here. Then came quarterback Kyle McCord. Early in camp, it looked like he might be the QB3 for Philly, but after the trade for Sam Howell, McCord's fate was sealed. Still, seeing a rookie get cut so quickly stings. Like Green, he's another candidate for the practice squad. But the name that hit hardest in that first wave? Eli Ricks. 2 years ago, he fought his way from undrafted free agent to making the roster. He earned snaps, flashed talent, and gave fans hope that he could be part of the secondary's future. Even this offseason, he looked strong in camp and preseason. To see him wave now is tough. He's a fighter, and I'm hoping the Birds keep him around on the practice squad, because letting that talent walk would hurt. And the cuts didn't stop there. Tuesday brought another storm. More names were scratched before the 4 p.m. deadline: Lance Dixon, Ifedeyi, Brandon Johnson, Holland Pierce, Tarek Castro Fields, Taylor Morin. But the cut that stood out most? Wide receiver Aeneas Smith. Drafted just last year in the 5th round, Smith's start in Philly wasn't easy. His rookie camp was rough, his development slow. But this offseason, he finally showed growth. In camp, he strung together his best practices. In preseason, he found the end zone twice, one against the Bengals, one against the Browns. He even had a slick punt return that showed flashes of playmaking. And yet, it wasn't enough to crack the 53. That's the heartbreaking side of this league. Even progress isn't always enough. So, Eagles fans, which of these cuts hurt you the most? Was it Eli Ricks? Aeneas Smith? Or maybe the surprise of Kenyon Green? Drop your thoughts in the comments and tell me who you want back on the practice squad the most. Now, let's be real, Aeneas Smith's story wasn't all highlight reels. He had some struggles too. He still looked raw at times, still needed development, and when you look at the Eagles' wide receiver room right now, there just wasn't space. The trade for John Mechie brought in more depth. Darius Cooper exploded onto the scene, and even with Johnny Wilson hurt, the competition was brutal. That's why, as tough as it was, cutting Aeneas made sense. Like Eli Ricks, though, I hope the Birds can stash him on the practice squad, because he still has potential to grow. But while one door closed, another opened in the most inspiring way possible. When the 4 p.m. deadline passed, the Eagles' 53-man roster was revealed, and standing among the names was Darius Cooper. Let's pause on this, because Cooper's story is straight out of a football movie. Undrafted, overlooked, coming out of Tarleton State, a small school almost nobody talks about. 5 years grinding, chasing a dream that most people thought was impossible. And even when Philly signed him, most fans, myself included, figured he was just a camp body, a guy who would be gone by September. But Cooper didn't just show up. He fought. Every single day in camp, he made plays. Every time he got an opportunity, he refused to waste it. He caught everything thrown his way. He ran crisp routes. He showed toughness. And when the preseason lights came on, he lit it up. 6 catches, 82 yards, and a touchdown in the very first game. That wasn't luck. That was hunger. That was a man proving he belonged. By the final weeks of camp, Cooper wasn't just hanging around. He was taking reps with the first team. Coaches saw it. Teammates felt it. Fans started to believe in him. And now, he's officially on the 53. Against all odds, Darius Cooper went from an unknown long shot to one of the most inspiring stories of the Eagles' summer. Even Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman couldn't stop praising him after cuts. They talked about his toughness, his play strength, his ability to win one-on-one battles, his speed, and most importantly, his willingness to do the dirty work. Block, grind, play special teams, whatever it takes. That's the kind of guy who sticks in Philly. That's the kind of guy fans fall in love with. Darius Cooper didn't just make the roster. He made a statement. I belong in the NFL. So Eagles fans, how big do you think Cooper's role can be this year? Is he just a depth piece, or could he actually carve out real snaps on offense? Drop your thoughts below, because this underdog story feels like it's just getting started. The Eagles roster isn't just about the stars. It's about the grinders, the guys who clawed their way from nowhere and forced their names onto the 53. And two of the biggest surprises came in the trenches at defensive tackle. First, Gabe Hall. His story is all about patience and growth. He came into the league undrafted in 2024, buried on the practice squad, and spent a full season developing in the shadows. No hype, no spotlight, just hours in the weight room, studying film, learning the game at the NFL level. This summer, all that work finally showed. He played faster. He looked stronger. And the Eagles rewarded him with a roster spot. It's a credit not just to Hall, but to the team's developmental program. A year ago, he was invisible. Now, he's on the 53, ready to battle in the trenches. Then there's Byron Young, another defensive tackle whose path was just as bumpy. A third-round pick by the Raiders, he arrived in Philly late last offseason, but injuries kept him from ever seeing the field. A lot of teams might have moved on. The Eagles didn't. They saw the raw tools, the sick pedigree, and believed in him. And now, with his power and heavy hands, Young has muscled his way into a roster spot. He's the kind of lineman who can collapse pockets and blow up plays, and the front office wasn't about to let that walk. But the surprises didn't stop at defensive tackle. One of the most shocking developments came off the edge, when veteran pass rusher Ogbo Okoronkwo made the cut over both Patrick Johnson and rookie Antwan Powell-Ryland. Let's be honest, most people, myself included, expected Johnson at the very least to survive. He had a strong camp, showed he can rush the passer, set the edge, and contribute on special teams. The fact that he's on the outside looking in shows just how brutal these decisions get. Still, the coaches and Howie Roseman clearly believe in Ogbo's explosiveness. His get-off is dangerous, his burst is real, and they see a role for him in this rotation. For Johnson, it's a harsh reality. He did everything right this summer. He's a homegrown draft pick. He earned respect. But in the end, numbers forced the Eagles to make an incredibly tough call. Johnson may still land back with the team depending on waiver moves, but for now, it's Ogbo who survives. This is what makes cutdown day so intense. For every player celebrating a dream realized, there's another packing up a locker. The Eagles' front office doesn't just build for today, they're thinking about matchups, explosiveness, versatility, and who can truly swing games when it matters most. So tell me, Eagles fans, what do you think of these defensive line moves? Did the Birds make the right call keeping Ogbo over Patrick Johnson and Powell-Ryland? Or do you think they made a mistake? Let me know your take in the comments, because this battle in the trenches is just heating up. The Eagles believe they've found another weapon on the edge. Orono has already flashed the ability to win one-on-one battles, something coaches noticed years ago when they practiced against him. Now, as he learns the defense and starts playing faster, the belief is he can be a dangerous part of the rotation this season. Still, the team hasn't forgotten about Patrick Johnson. They'd love to see him back on the practice squad, along with APR if possible. It's a waiting game, but those names remain firmly on the radar. What surprised many was how heavy the Eagles went on the offensive line. 11 linemen made the roster, 12 if you count Myles Hinton landing on IR. Veterans like Fred Johnson and Matt Pryor held their spots, while Drew Kendall, Cameron Williams, Trevor Keegan, and Brett Toth added unexpected depth. Clearly, the front office wants insurance in the trenches. But then came the shocker. The Eagles cut long snapper Charlie Houlitt. Right now, they don't even have one on the active roster. The expectation is Houlitt returns on the practice squad and suits up in Week 1 against Dallas. But for the moment, it's one of the strangest moves on the list. Special teams uncertainty doesn't end there. The Eagles also let go of Avery Williams after a disappointing summer, leaving no set returner. Cooper DeJean and Jahan Dotson are possible options, but nothing is locked in yet. The roster is set for now, but there are still loose ends to tie up. Depth decisions, practice squad moves, and who takes over return duties will all be stories to watch closely as Week 1 approaches.